We've been fed the lie for so long that we started to believe it. The lie that we need more time. That if we just had an extra hour in the day, we could get our lives together. That if we had a longer morning, a slower evening, or a lighter workload, we'd finally be productive, successful, and in control. But the truth is, time has never been the issue. Time is fair. Everyone on this planet wakes up with the same 24 hours. The difference isn't in the clock, but in the clarity. Some people know exactly what matters. Others are just spinning, lost in noise. If you're constantly feeling like you're falling behind, busy but unfulfilled, chances are it's not a time problem, it's a clarity problem. Because when you're clear about what truly matters, you stop wasting energy on what doesn't. You stop saying yes to things that don't serve your growth. You stop scrolling aimlessly through social media because your mind is focused on your mission. You stop procrastinating, not because you have superhuman discipline, but because you know what's at stake. Clarity gives your time direction. It takes that 24-hour block and turns it into a blueprint. Without it, your day gets hijacked by distractions, other people's agendas, and meaningless routines that leave you tired, unmotivated, and stuck in frustration cycle. You don't need more hours. You need more intention. You need to wake up every morning knowing your top 3 priorities. You need to look at your to-do list and ask, is this building my future or burying it? You need to ask yourself honestly, if I keep living like this for the next 5 years, where will I end up? Clarity isn't something you find. It's something you create. It comes from silence, reflection, choosing to pause long enough to question everything you've been doing on autopilot. It comes from courage, being honest about what you want and what you no longer want to tolerate. And when you lock in on that vision, that real, non-negotiable vision, your 24 hours stop being a burden and start becoming the building blocks of the life you're meant to live. How you start your morning determines everything. It's not just about waking up early, it's about waking up with purpose. Most people roll out of bed already behind. They wake up and immediately reach for their phone, flooding their brain with noise, comparison, messages, and mental clutter before they've even had a moment to breathe. Then they wonder why they feel anxious, rushed, and unfocused all day. Your morning isn't just another part of the day. It's the launch pad. If you don't own it, the rest of your day will control you. If you start reactive, you'll stay reactive. But if you start with power, clarity, and control, you set a tone that no outside circumstance can break. The morning is your secret weapon. It's the time when the world is quiet, when distractions are still asleep, and when you can finally hear your thoughts without interruption. The most successful people in the world guard their mornings like their life depends on it. Because in many ways, it does. When you use that first hour to focus on yourself, your mind, your goals, and your energy, you take the driver's seat of your life. You set your intention. You remind yourself who you are and where you're headed. That kind of grounding isn't a luxury. It's a necessity if you want to live with purpose. Your morning routine doesn't have to be complicated. It just needs to be yours. Maybe it's 10 minutes of journaling, a quick workout, reading something that lifts your spirit, or planning your top 3 tasks for the day. The point isn't what you do, it's that you do it deliberately. You do it with awareness. You do it to invest in yourself before you invest in everyone else. Because the truth is, if you don't fill your cup first, you'll have nothing to pour into your dreams, your relationships, or your work. And here's the thing most people never realize. Your morning is not just about productivity. It's about peace. It's about presence. It's about building a life that feels aligned before the chaos of the world tries to pull you in 1,000 directions. Owning your morning gives you power over your schedule, your mindset, and your emotional state. And when you stack enough days like that together, days where you started strong, stayed intentional, and refused to let the outside world dictate your energy, that's when real transformation begins. That's when your life begins to shift, not all at once, but one powerful morning at a time. There's a reason you feel exhausted after a long day, but still haven't made real progress. It's because you're busy doing the wrong things. You're checking boxes replying to messages, juggling endless micro tasks, but none of it is moving the needle, the truth. Most of what you do every day doesn't matter. That's not an insult. It's an opportunity. The 80-20 rule, also known as the Pareto principle, is not just a clever idea for entrepreneurs or productivity nerds. It's a weapon for anyone tired of feeling stuck. It says that 80% of your results come from just 20% of your actions. That means if you want to change your life, you don't need to do more. You need to do less better. Look around at your schedule, your calendar, your to-do list. What's driving results? What brings you closer to your goals? Not what feels urgent, what creates impact. There's a difference. Responding to emails might feel necessary, but that's not what builds your dream. Attending endless meetings might keep you busy, but business isn't progress. Success isn't about volume. It's about focus. The people who make the biggest impact don't do everything. They do the right things over and over again with ruthless consistency. The 80-20 rule forces you to get honest, to look in the mirror and ask, what are the few actions that bring the biggest return in my life? What are the 20% of habits, routines, and decisions that give me the 80% of results I crave in my health, in my career, in my relationships, in my peace? Once you identify those, everything else becomes negotiable. You stop trying to please everyone. You stop spending hours on tasks that feel productive but go nowhere. You stop reacting to life and start creating it piece by piece through intentional action. This rule isn't a restriction. It's a release. It permits you to let go of the noise. It reminds you that you're not behind, you're just distracted. You don't need to overhaul your entire schedule or burn yourself out trying to do it all. You just need to double down on the few things that truly matter and let go of the rest. That's how real results are made, not in doing more, but in mastering the essential few and cutting off the trivial many. That's not time management. That's life design. And once you adopt that mindset, your 24 hours become a launch pad for purpose, not a prison of pressure. Every time you say yes to something, you're saying no to something else. And most people don't even realize it. They say yes to favors they don't want to do. They say yes to events they don't want to attend. They say yes to people, tasks, and distractions that have nothing to do with their purpose, and then they wonder why they feel depleted, overwhelmed, and stuck. If you want to take control of your time, your energy, and your future, you must learn to say no without guilt, not with hesitation, not with apology, with clarity, because your life is too important to be managed by other people's expectations. Saying no isn't about being rude. It's about being responsible. It's about recognizing that your time is a non-renewable resource, and every minute you spend on something that doesn't align with your goals is a minute stolen from your growth. The most successful people in the world didn't get there by doing everything. They got there by doing less, but doing it better. They protected their time like it was gold, because it is. And you have to do the same. Every yes must be earned. Every yes must align with your values. If it doesn't, it's a no. Period. But here's the hard part. Most of us were never taught how to say no. We were raised to be polite, agreeable, and accommodating. We're afraid of letting people down. We fear rejection, disapproval, and judgment. So we stretch ourselves thin, trying to be everything for everyone, while quietly losing ourselves in the process. But growth requires boundaries, and boundaries are built on courage. The courage to protect your peace, the courage to defend your time, the courage to prioritize your purpose over someone else's comfort. When you start saying no to the wrong things, the right things finally have space to show up. You start to think clearly. You start to create with freedom. You stop resenting your commitments and start feeling proud of them. Your schedule becomes lighter, your focus becomes sharper, and your energy becomes deeper. And most importantly, you start respecting yourself on a new level, because you're no longer negotiating with your future just to be liked in the present. Learning to say no without guilt is one of the greatest time management tools you'll ever master. It's not easy. It takes practice. It takes strength. But once you do it, once you realize that no is not rejection, it's redirection, you step into a whole new level of control. And from that place, your time becomes yours again, not just to survive the day, But to build the life you've been called to live, your time is your most valuable asset, yet most people treat it like it's limitless. They leave their day wide open, hoping to fit in the important things, wondering where the hours go, constantly feeling behind, and never realizing that it's not a time problem, it's a control problem. If you don't block your time, someone else will. If you don't protect your calendar, the world will write all over it. The meetings, the messages, the favors, the distractions, they will eat your day alive if you don't learn to create structure and space. Time blocking isn't about being rigid. It's about being intentional. It's about assigning your hours a purpose before the noise creeps in. Instead of letting your schedule happen to you, you design it like a blueprint. You carve out time for deep work, for strategy, for rest, for creativity, for thinking, because if you don't, those things never happen. They get shoved aside by what's urgent but unimportant, by what's loud but meaningless. A powerful life doesn't run on reaction. It runs on rhythm. Most people live their entire day in reactive mode. They wake up and immediately dive into their inbox, their notifications, and other people's priorities. They say things like, I'll get to it when I can, but when I can never comes. The truth is, if it's not on your calendar, it's not real. Hoping to have time is not the same as making time. Waiting for the perfect moment is just procrastination in disguise. You have to declare when things will happen, not just what needs to be done. Blocking your time means you treat your hours like sacred ground. You don't take meetings during your focus blocks. You don't scroll when you're building. You don't let your energy get hijacked by chaos. You set the terms and you honor them. And the beauty is, it doesn't just make you more productive, it makes you more present. You stop feeling torn in 1,000 directions. You know when you're working, and you know when you're off. You stop apologizing for boundaries and start performing with clarity. Your time is not up for grabs. Your future isn't going to be built in leftover minutes. So start blocking your time like it matters, because it does. It's not about doing more. It's about doing what matters most, with intention, with discipline, with the kind of focus that makes ordinary hours turn into extraordinary results. Because in the end, it's not the number of hours you have, it's what you do with the ones you own. You carry it everywhere. It's in your pocket when you walk, in your hand when you sit, on your nightstand when you sleep. It wakes you up in the morning and tucks you in at night. And while you think it's a tool, most days it's a thief, quietly stealing your time, your focus, your energy, your peace. It buzzes, it pings, it pulls your attention in 100 different directions before your brain even has a chance to think. And you don't even notice it happening? That's the scariest part. We live in a world of engineered distraction. Entire companies make billions off your broken concentration. Every notification is a hook. Every scroll is a trap. And your time, your most precious resource, is being drained, not in hours, but in tiny, invisible leaks throughout the day. A few minutes on social media, a couple of clicks into an article you didn't mean to read, an autoplay video you never asked for. You don't realize it, but by the end of the day, you've lost hours. Not because you were lazy, but because you weren't intentional. You cannot afford to treat your phone like a harmless habit. If you're trying to build something real, a dream, a career, a purpose-driven life, then you have to protect your focus like your future depends on it, because it does. Every time you reach for your phone out of boredom, out of discomfort, out of impulse, you're training your brain to fear stillness, to avoid depth, to numb instead of create. And what's worse, you begin to lose trust in your ability to concentrate. You start to believe that focus is something only disciplined people have. But the truth is, it's something all of us can reclaim if we're willing to fight for it. That fight starts with awareness. Set boundaries with your devices. Turn off the non-essential notifications. Create phone-free zones in your day, your mornings, your work blocks, your meals. Don't sleep with it in your bedroom. Don't check it first thing when you wake up. Stop letting an algorithm decide how your day begins. Rewire your mind to pause, to think, to create before you consume. Because when your phone controls your attention, it controls your choices. And when it controls your choices, it shapes your life. Technology is not the enemy, unconscious use is. Your phone can either be a powerful tool or a daily distraction. It can either connect you with purpose or bury you in noise. The decision is yours. But make no mistake, every time you pick it up without intention, you're giving away something you'll never get back: your time, your clarity, your control. You don't need more hours in the day. You need to master the ones you already have. Every second is a seed. Plant it with intention or lose it to distraction. Your life will not be defined by the amount of time you had, but by what you did with it. You are not too busy. You are just too available to the wrong things. You are not behind. You are just misaligned. The power to change your life is not out there. It's already inside your calendar. Reclaim your mornings. Protect your focus. Say no without guilt. Use your time as a tool, not a trap. The clock is ticking whether you rise or waste it, so rise. Not someday. Not when it's convenient. Now, because how you manage your 24 hours is how you manage your destiny. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.